Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes.
Welcome back to the Big Loves of Space podcast. Today we're going to be talking about space. It's been so long. DJ, how are you doing?
Oh, I am rested up. Oh, it's been a busy few weeks. So busy, we didn't even record.
I'm so unbelievably glad to hear that you are rested up because we have 3 of likely the busiest weeks of space news to cover tonight. So we are going to be moving fast, and we're probably going to go a little long. So everyone buckle your seatbelts, grab a snack, and enjoy this episode of Talos of Space. Top of the line, somebody left planet Earth. And it wasn't Elon, unfortunately. He's getting there, but somebody left planet Earth. Who was that?
That, I actually don't have the names pulled up, but that is Crew 2.
Me neither. Okay, Crew 2. We'll get the names up in just a second. I have been a little disconnected from the space news as well, so I don't know all exactly what's going on. So DJ and I spent probably about almost an hour at this point getting ready for the show here.
We've been kind of rambling for a few.
We have been. That's good. We need to catch
here we
up
go.
anyway.
NASA Crew 2.
Oh my god.
Let's see here. So they were where'd it go? Here we go. So the commander was Robert Shane Kimbrough, NASA, of course, NASA pilot, Catherine Megan MacArthur, which is it's the wife of, which one is it, Bob or Doug?
I think it's Bob.
Bob. Okay, so
Bob.
Yeah. And of course, not only is she sitting in the same seat as he was, they're also in the same Dragon capsule as he was. So that's
pretty cool, huh?
The mission specialist 1 is another JAXA astronaut. So it's Akihiko Hoshide. And then we have mission specialist number 2, which is an ESA astronaut, and it's Thomas Pesquet, I think.
Nice.
So,
well, we have 4 new humans in space, 2 of which are returning, 2 of which are new. And that meant we had on station the record, which isn't broken, but it's still another record of number of humans on the space station. So I believe it was 14, right?
No, actually, I don't think so.
Uh-oh.
Because one of the Soyuz left before Crew 2 went up.
Oh, it did, didn't it?
It did.
Oh my goodness.
See, I was thinking it was still going to be there.
It did, didn't it? It did, didn't it? Oh gosh.
So, but we still had 8 plus 3, so that's 11. Yeah,
that's 11. It was a lot of people on station. They took that big group picture, and I was like, "Whoa,
yeah,
that's a lot of people."
So we had one Soyuz crew and then 2 SpaceX crews. So,
yeah, it was a lot. And poor Starliner was like, "Hi, is there room for me?" And like, "Nope, sorry, no room for Starliner ever. We need to get rid of that program." But whatever.
Almost a complete year after SpaceX sent humans up to the ISS for the first time, and there's still nothing.
Mm-hmm. Well, they had that one test flight that, just went famously well, so there was something that happened. It just wasn't something good. Yeah, so we got a lot of people on station up there, and it was quite a time up in space. I can't imagine the ground logistics of all that, just getting everybody up and then home, and then supporting everybody and having jobs for everybody to do and making sure that there was, stuff to do up there. It was a pretty crazy time. But pretty shortly after, I believe they weren't even together for a week, we had Crew 1 land.
Yep. Did you watch that live that early in the morning, or did you go to sleep?
I did not watch any of this live, unfortunately. I didn't even watch Crew 2 live.
Oh,
actually, I did watch. That was a night launch. Crew 2 was a night launch, wasn't it?
I think so. I can't remember if I watched Crew 2 live or not.
Okay. I watched a night launch pretty recently, and I can't remember if it was... Actually, no, that's not true. I did not watch Crew 2 because I watched the latest Starlink mission, and because Starlink is so much more important than humans, to me at least, because, internet. Not that their safety is not... I just mean the, launch importance of my life, impact on my life. But yeah, I guess we didn't put this in the notes, but this might be a good time to mention it because we're kind of already distracted. Squirrel. We have the death. We sadly have to report a death among the astronaut corps. My favorite astronaut, Michael Collins, has passed away at the ripe old age of 90, and he died of cancer. And he was the command module pilot of Apollo 11. So he was, as many media outlets termed him, the loneliest man ever. The guy who had to wait up in the command module while Neil and Buzz made their famous first steps. So we remember him, and our thoughts and prayers are with his family. Anyway, that was something that they announced on that, you know, that like little phrase they say after they launch a rocket, you know, go SpaceX, go NASA, whatever. This time they said something about Michael Collins.
Yeah, that was how I found out. I didn't know about it until then too.
I know, it was like news that day, so I didn't feel terrible. But yeah, so I was like, oh, Michael Collins passed. Because he was, out of all the astronauts, he's always been my favorite. Michael Collins, he has a book, Carrying the Fire. It was pretty good. About kind of living in the limelight, I guess. Like, not in the center of the focus, but, you know, still being an astronaut and stuff. So, anyway, really cool guy. Cool story. Anyway, so Crew 1 landed. That was also a night landing. It was the first night landing since Apollo 8 or something like that.
Yeah, it was. It was the first night capsule
landing.
Or capsule water landing. Yeah. So, but I did watch that live. So
you did.
I stayed up till like almost 2:00, which is kind of unusual for me at this point because I've been going to sleep so early lately. But I stayed up for it, and then as soon as I saw them hit the water, and the boat got close enough to where I could almost see the capsule from the boat view, that's when I conked out. So
that's
it
fair.
made it.
I don't think anyone would expect you to do that any further.
Well, see, I wanted to watch it because it whenever DM2 came back, it was cool to watch it. Of course, it was also in the daytime, but even so, they still didn't actually show like the door side of the capsule that much when they did.
Yeah.
And then they, after the second person came out, Mike Hopkins, when he started coming out, they cut away from the capsule completely and didn't show it again at all. And then they cut off the stream not that long after, I don't think. So they didn't do much production wise showing the capsule after it was already on Go Navigator. So, but it did look like it went a whole lot smoother this time than DM2. So. They didn't have to take forever to sniff.
What was the deal with DM2?
They had the sniffer.
People.
Well, they also had the sniffing thing.
Oh.
They were sniffing for
I don't remember
hypergalax.
about that. What was that about? Oh. Did they just not do that this time, or were
well,
they
they did, but they didn't have
procedure
anything going wrong.
Okay.
So as soon as they got the I think it was 35 minutes after they splashed down that they got seated into the Dragon nest, and then they moved it forward, slid it forward, and Go Navigator has actually went under some new construction. So the actual retrieval area is completely enclosed now, other than the open side of it that it slides into.
Yeah.
The deck is much larger. The raised deck is much larger for where they exit the capsule, and it just looks tidier too. So even if it was a day launch, we couldn't have seen anything that was around the boat from these views whenever they're looking at the capsule. But it went under some construction and some facelifts during all that.
Well, I'm happy to report that we have 100% fewer bystanders from this landing.
It was I can't remember the guy jumping off the capsule for DM2, but at night, since he was jumping off into the great abyss of the ocean, it was pretty funny just seeing him climb up the capsule and then yeeting himself off as far as he could from it. It's like capsule
with the cable.
Boat. Not with the cable, but he's like, this is whenever he had just attached it to the big crane arm.
Yeah.
He had climbed up as high as he could and then just jumped off. But there's the capsule right there in the water, maybe 15 foot away from the capsule is the big boat. And then the other little tiny boat's just like sitting there waiting to pick him up. I'm like, dude, I'm glad it's like glassy seas out there tonight, because I don't think I would like to be in the dark waters like that. Because he didn't have a mask or anything on.
Yeah.
He's just jump. Okay.
Kind of cold. They're brave souls over at SpaceX though, so they're kind of expected to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I scuba dive, so I've been to Hawaii a couple times.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so whenever you're scuba diving out there, the water's rough. And I've been banged up against a boat with like 8-foot waves, and it's not that fun.
You can't imagine. That's a bummer.
Yep.
Well, I'm a hope that everyone didn't get banged up and
it was so smooth the waters out in the Gulf.
Do we know what's happening to the Dragon Endurance? What was its name? The guy that just landed. What was the dragon's name?
Resilience.
Resilience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we know what's happening with that? Is that going to become the?
I think that is Inspiration 4's
Axiom
capsule.
Space. Inspiration 4's capsule.
Yeah, I think that because
cool.
I think it was on CNBC or CBS this morning. I can't remember which one it was. I actually just watched a video earlier today that they had put out talking about Inspiration 4. They did some interviews with them, with the 4-person crew, and that's what it seems like is the Resilience is going to be upgraded to have the bubble up at the nose cone.
The bubble. That's what I'm worried about. I want to see the bubble, folks.
Yep. So it seems like it's
I
going
want to be in that bubble.
So
well, that's exciting that Resilience will be getting the bubble for the first time. Do you think that'll be an easily like swappable thing? Like, you know, sometimes they'll have it, some missions it won't, or do you think like it's just always going to have that bubble for the rest of its life?
If they just make it the same fit as the docking adapter, maybe. Because they could just docking adapter it to the docking adapter, and if the cone has got enough room to close on top of it, maybe. If not, it might just be a thing where they just like remove the docking adapter and then put that on it. So,
I had not thought of that. I'll have to think about that a little bit more because I think the international docking adapter stuff's definitely pretty bulky.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't make a ton of sense to leave the international docking adapter stuff male side or the one side and then the other side as well.
My main thing is
all fitting underneath the nose cap.
Yeah, my main thing is the nose cone, the nose cap.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's a pretty big close, bubble, right? Like that's
it's gonna have to close, and that's a pretty big bubble. So like, how much space is actually in that?
Yeah,
so
that's why I think it's probably going to be more of a nuts and bolts instead of adapter type thing.
Probably, yeah.
And it's not to say that they can't reconfigure stuff. Like they do that all the time with especially the space shuttle got reconfigured a lot. Just having the Canada arm moved around to the other side or whatever between flights. Like they can take off and remove this if they wanted to. But I guess the question is like they have these 2 Dragon capsules that are both flight proven and certified. Will they keep one as the ISS ferry and then one as the commercial one that people can rent out? Or do you think they'll be mixing them both?
Well, I mean, I think one might stay as the commercial one, but they've got to be adding another ISS one. So
I was thinking, I think they had 3 in the pipeline, right?
I mean,
they had 4 and then one went kaboom.
Yeah. I see the third one might still be kind of being worked on because for DM1, I don't remember which one we had. DM1 was the one that blew up because it blew up on the pad after whenever they were trying to do their abort thing.
Launch escape system.
Which one was launch escape? Do you remember?
Well, that was renamed DM1, I believe. That was
the launch escape one was
a Falcon 9.
No, the launch escape one was just a launch. It wasn't DM1. That was just launch escape.
Yeah. Okay, but DM1 was the one where they sacrificed a Falcon 9 and performed the. That was DM1, wasn't it?
No, DM1 is just where it went to the station without anybody on it.
Oh, you're right. That's where we had Earthy.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow, you're right.
So I don't remember which one of which capsules were which on that one, but one of those might be the other one. I'm not sure.
Interesting.
So
yeah, I'm sure someone smarter than us will let us know in the comments because we have plenty of other news to cover. We'll keep moving.
We do.
Speaking of commercial things that are flying around, this one didn't quite make it to space. It might be able to. It has a big enough wingspan. Did you see a Stratolaunch flew for the second time in its entire life? Yeah,
I saw that. I'm like, it's been almost it's been over a year since the last time it flew for sure. I can't remember how long it's been, but this plane is big. If you've seen it, I mean, it's like, imagine two 747s kind of beside each
Taped
other
together,
and a big wing going across the two. So
yeah, it's huge,
massive. And of course, this is the air launch where it's like the rocket's kind of like in the center attached to the main wing, and then it drops out. But it's only been their second flight, and they've tried launching nothing from it. So
yeah. It's kind of impressive how big of an aircraft it is, because to this day it holds the record for being the largest wingspan aircraft ever to fly, which is kind of a unique title to have, but it doesn't seem to have a ton of purpose, especially since we've kind of established that highly reusable rockets, boosters that land and take off, as SpaceX does, is a lot more efficient from a cost perspective and a time perspective than a whole airplane configuration, slinging it under, doing that from horizontal to vertical.
I think Stratolaunch, is Stratolaunch the actual company? Or is that...
No, I don't know how this is all set up. I'm pretty sure Stratolaunch helped with the Virgin Orbit's X Prize competition. I could be wrong, I guess, but
either way, I think the company that was building the plane went bankrupt at some point. Because, I mean...
they went...
Pretty sure.
Yeah, let's see. They definitely went bankrupt, and someone else bought them, and it's kind of been fluctuating around.
So the company was sold in
it was Virgin
October
Galactic,
2019.
wasn't it? October 2019, yeah.
Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen established Stratolaunch in 2011. The first test flight was April 2019, so it's been over 2 years.
Wow,
it was 2 years from its first flight to its second flight.
Yeah, so it does look like Virgin Galactic, which was, for those of you who don't remember, Virgin Galactic was the first private space flight. It was the one that won the X Prize back in 2000 something, 7, 9, something like that. It is not using the Stratolaunch. It's using its own dual fuselaged long or extended wing aircraft. Yeah. It's a different aircraft, but anyway. So yeah, it's kind of cool that's still around. I kind of forgotten about it, but I saw it again and I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool.
A little bit of quick news.
I guess that's a thing. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's get away with the pleasantries, DJ.
It's time for the big news. The big boy.
We got the big news here. Space newsflash. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. We have breaking news here. SpaceX lands the HLS Human Landing Systems contract with NASA, allowing them to provide transport from low lunar orbit to the surface of the moon with Starship.
Woohoo!
Sorry. Sorry. I have no news. It seems that SpaceX no longer has the human launch landing contract with NASA. Due to some ongoing litigation with competitors, the contract has been suspended and is now under review. That's the end of the news flashes there. That was kind of crazy. Like, dude, I think I texted you. I said, like, the whiplash is unreal. Like, it was like, we're like, yay, SpaceX got $2 billion for the HLS contract. We're like, woo!
And then it was just taken away.
And it's like, less than a week later, it's like, nope, not happening. Like, all right, whatever. But
see,
geez.
I wonder how that went. Like,
I was kind of wondering. Like, I'm pretty sure that someone just called in and like left a complaint. Like, Blue Origin's obviously really upset about this because Blue Origin likes money. I guess, like most companies do.
Let's see. I wonder if they could have just called NASA. Here, try this number really quick and see if they have anything for it. 601-488.
Hold on, 601. Do I need to censor this in post?
Just bleep the last four or something.
All right, yeah, cool, yeah. Don't want to give away this person's phone number.
And then
601-488.
And then 2342.
2342. All right, let's give it a call. See if we can change NASA's mind.
Hello, thank you for calling NASA. Press 1 for filing a SpaceX FAA infringement. Press 2 for filing a human landing system complaint.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. I would like to say that SpaceX is terrible and that Blue Origin is totally the best, and there's no reason why you should have given them all that money. Once again, my name is Jeff Bezos. I'm definitely the third or fourth richest man alive at this point, because Elon's kind of been whipping my butt in some other industries, but thankfully I still don't have the hair. Yeah, is this the right people to talk to say that SpaceX sucks?
Yes. What would you like us to do?
Well, I was thinking you just, I kind of have two options here. Number one, I can sue your pants off. Number two is you could just not give SpaceX any more money, like ever, like cancel all of it, just all of it, all the launches, all the crew stuff, like all of it.
Let's not get into the lawsuits. I don't think things will go out very well for us on that one. So let's just take the number two option. Okay, bye.
And that's how it happened, folks. Once upon a time, in a SpaceX and NASA and Blue Origin location. That's how it happened. We have very special footage. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Guys! NASA's calling me back! I left a message about how bad all that was. Oh, man. We're going to call NASA back here. Hello, NASA?
Hi. I hope that bit worked. I hope it can be saved.
If it can't, it's going to be really awkward. Oh, man. That was fun. Hopefully I can save that in post. I think that was kind of funny. That's so. Basically the conversation that had to have happened there. Because SpaceX is the only, viable option. After the news broke, everyone was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. And it was no one was like, oh, but Blue Origin had such a better idea with the national team. Yeah. It was no.
Get it. Well, I mean, I get it because it's money and they're wanting to make money. But, I mean, Blue Origin, how much cargo can they actually carry in their lander versus SpaceX? Oh, let me just drop a big old silo on you with a lot of cargo space. And it's a rocket that's going to be intended to go to Mars anyways at some point. So, boom.
Yeah. Unfortunately, though, SpaceX doesn't use legacy suppliers, and the national team does. So we really need to use those legacy suppliers because you need to keep your constituents happy with all those jobs that the big, fat government cost-plus contracts go.
5 years and 500% more. That's always the motto every year.
Oh, definitely. 500% more profits, not necessarily 500% more effort.
Exactly.
Because we don't do that in the space contract system with the government. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of sad news, honestly. What do you think? All jokes aside, what do you think about this? I was kind of let down.
So, okay, for anybody that doesn't know kind of what happened and what they're claiming, they're basically saying that NASA moved the goalposts at the end of the line for the RFPs and stuff like that. So, but what kind of actually happened...
And that's kind of fair, because NASA did cite, hey, SpaceX is cheaper and has tons of capacity.
Yeah.
And, in their original thing, they weren't weighting those two factors as heavily. But, it makes sense, though, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, but what kind of happened, from what I understand, is they wanted to get a certain amount of money... what was it, 2.9 whatever? 2.9 billion? But Congress wouldn't give it to them. Give it to NASA, that is. So SpaceX kind of altered their payment timeline pretty much to fit what NASA could do at the time. And I think that is that's one of the main things that they're really going to focus in on is SpaceX was flexible. The other two weren't. So... I don't know. It's just going to be a throwing money around at congressman fight, pretty much. So,
as most things in the government are, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're actually having this conversation, and HLS is getting close to being funded.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think SpaceX is the most logical option, but anything that gets us towards the moon faster, I guess, is good at the end of the day.
It's like who has more experience with doing crazy stuff as it is? SpaceX. Who has experience in getting stuff done fast? SpaceX. I mean,
is there really an argument there? I mean, come on. SpaceX is literally the only company that lands their rockets on their tails vertically using a hover slam maneuver, and it's just like, it's amazing.
So.
Boy. Yeah, so that was kind of sad. At one moment it's like sad, but then the other time it's like, well, who wouldn't want them to put up a fight, right? Because remember back in the really early days with Falcon 1, SpaceX kind of fought this contract that NASA gave out to do the CRS stuff to, I think it was ULA or something, and SpaceX fought it on probably similar shifty grounds as Blue Origin is right now, and SpaceX ended up getting awarded that money, which saved them literally. Like they wouldn't exist if that didn't happen. And so I don't know what Blue Origin's financial situation is, but it cannot be as good as SpaceX is right now. And SpaceX isn't doing great, as Glenn Shotwell has said a couple times, that they're pretty cash strapped at the moment.
Yeah.
Just getting Starlink up is billions of dollars in the red, and they're just running off of investors. But Blue Origin has to be in a similar position where they don't have any contracts, right? Like, what they might have, like one or two like small NASA science payloads that they stick up in their Shepard test flights.
It's just that. What it really is at the moment is just a Bezos, Elon kind of, competition. So it's how much money can Bezos spend?
A rocket measuring competition?
Yes, there you go.
A rocket measuring competition?
There you go. At the moment, Bezos is losing.
Yep, BFR is a lot bigger.
Bezos is so unbelievably, you can't even imagine how rich this man is rich. And of course, if he needs to, he can just sell stuff to get more liquidity to pay all this. But right now it's just
he has $131 billion in net worth. God. And by the way, did you hear that Gates and Melinda are splitting up?
Seriously?
Yeah, they just announced their divorce tonight.
Oh no.
So what is Gates net worth? Come on.
That is actually kind of hard to believe.
Billion. I know, right? Like
they're
Gates
in their
and
60s.
I think they're 70s.
Okay, they're 70s. Still,
maybe.
You don't normally hear
131 billion getting cut in half. Ouch.
Oh, I mean, well, they're not really hurting on that.
I mean, yeah, but going for just like Jeff back when he got his divorce, he had 130 and then he went down to 70 and it was like, ooh, ouch.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to become a billionaire, though. Marry a tech startup entrepreneur guy and then divorce him. And keep
but imagine anybody that works for the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Oh yeah. Oh, they have to rename that the Bill and Gates Foundation. The Bill and Gates Foundation. Anyway, that wasn't even on our notes.
Off topic.
But yeah, so Blue Origin is probably fighting for survival. Obviously, Elon was in a much different position in 2000-something whenever they were fighting for this contract with NASA. Gates can, he has $130 billion that he could, liquidate it. He probably wouldn't want to liquidate it because, that's not what you do. Yeah. But he has plenty of resources to be able to fund this. So it's... In one sense, I can be like, yeah, I can understand why Blue Origin would be fighting for this. But in the other sense, I'm like, well, it's not really the same desperation level that SpaceX was at when they were fighting this. Kind of on the same grounds. I'd say that SpaceX and Blue Origin kind of had the same grounds. SpaceX was fighting this back in 2000, whatever, for the CRS mission.
Because, Blue Origin also is making engines for ULA. So, they also have that. Plus something that we're going to talk about in a few minutes as well.
True. We'll talk about that in a second. But the SpaceX though, they had nothing under their belt when they got awarded the CRS supply. They had 4 test flights of Falcon 1 and only 1 successful orbit. That's all they had. and they didn't have any anything else. And that's kind of what Blue Origin has about right now. They have like a couple tests, some went well, some didn't, but like they haven't like reached orbit yet. They haven't sent anything useful into orbit yet.
And they haven't even tried to go to orbit at this point. Because
they haven't
can't
necessarily tried, but they're pretty far along to get to orbit at the moment as far as their development pipeline. But yeah, so kind of sad that SpaceX isn't just getting that $2.9 billion of cash in their bank account next week. But hey, you know what? Oh well, that is how the cards shuffle, and we'll see because I think it's a governmental regulatory agency or something.
Yeah,
the Office of Government Affairs or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So.
But before we move past this part, there was actually some, in the renders that we saw, there was a little bit of changes on Starship Moon version. Did you see?
Yes, I did see. We have not talked for a while, I guess. I just assumed that we've already talked about this, but I guess it makes sense that we haven't.
Because we're covering the story.
Yeah. Dude, the moon version of the Starship is probably the coolest one yet. Obviously, the super sleek, our idealistic design is beautiful and stuff. But this full white behemoth just standing on the moon with little humans, itsy bitsy humans next to a little elevator with their itsy bitsy little rovers, it's just like, like that render alone is the reason why Blue Origin should not win the contract. Yeah. Like Blue Origin's grand ambition is to reuse space shuttle parts again. And SpaceX is like, oh, by the way, here's a skyscraper on the moon, one landing.
So, in this render,
what stood out to you?
In this render, we have, in the original render for Moon Starship, we had like 4 sections of like 3 engines up towards the very top coming down.
Yep.
Now it's just like an entire ring around the top of the tanks. And it's probably a good 48 or some odd engines that we don't even know what type they are that are pointed outwards. So instead of those extremely massive, like 12 of those, like massive Super Draco type engines, now it's just small ones, like 48 of them around the thing.
What do you think those will be? Will those be like a Super Draco... dinitrogen tetroxide, monomethyl hydrazine?
That's gonna have to be. That's gonna have to be some kind of methane, methalox.
Okay.
Because I mean, I'm pretty sure they're gonna keep all one fuel and one oxidizer. Because if they bring this back to Earth orbit to refill it. It's going to be a whole lot easier just to pump the tanks full of one thing versus having to pump it full of the nasty stuff as well. So. Yeah. But that, and then they got a nice little buggy down there, and then a dish on the ground, and I mean they're gonna be able to fit what's essentially a side by side in a crane and drop it down.
Totally. So. It's beautiful. Like, that render is the reason why I love SpaceX, because it's like, that looks like it should be out of science fiction, yet the government might be spending $3 billion on it. So I love SpaceX.
And like, and another thing I love about this image is the fact that it's kind of actually accurate to the moon, whereas you don't see stars.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
So.
But the moon landings were faked on a TV set because there were no stars. I know nothing about exposure levels in cameras. Oh boy.
But yeah, that's really the only big things that we can glean from this new render. I'm just excited to see it. It's gonna be so cool.
Agreed. Didn't, New Shepard have a test? I believe it was NS15 a little while ago. Did anything of note happen on that?
Well, I mean, it was successful. So, yeah.
Hey, that's always nice.
Yeah. They recently had another launch of New Shepard. And consequentially, or not inconsequentially, incidentally, I think is the right word for it. In the webcast, somebody accidentally said... And you could possibly be on our next flight.
What? They were speaking to me directly?
Oh, yeah, they were absolutely just speaking to you, Nick. That definitely not
Yes.
the multi-million billionaires.
I distinctly remember Jeff Bezos looking me in the eye and saying, Nick and Sweeney, I'm such a fan of the Talos of Space podcast. I want you and DJ to join me on the first flight, which may not
would be
explode,
so cool.
of Blue Origin.
That would be so cool.
I'd be like, no, thank you. I'm waiting for Elon to do this. Thank you. I ain't flying on anything that's not SpaceX.
If it wasn't for the viewership numbers alone for that, it would definitely be for the fact that we bashed on them a few times.
Yeah, I would probably say the first reason why they wouldn't reach out to us is because neither of us had $300,000 to $500,000. The other reason, I mean, I guess I shouldn't assume about you. I don't have $300,000 to $500,000 just like. I mean, you are wearing AirPods Max right now, so I guess we do need to say you probably do have the $300,000 just sitting in your bank account. The second reason is probably because we don't like them. And the third reason would probably be because we get like 20 viewers a week. But, you know, I love each of you 20 viewers, including myself 19 times. So, you know, there's that.
Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
But, yeah.
Well, that wasn't the only thing, though, in the news this week, obviously, because it's been a couple weeks. I was trying to think of a smooth transition about like taking off a few times. I guess Blue Origin has taken off a few times. Another thing has taken off a few times.
What could that be?
But it wasn't on Earth.
Oh.
I don't know. What things fly that are not on Earth? It must take a lot of ingenuity to be able to fly things on other planets.
You know, it really does. But that sounds familiar for some reason. Why is that?
I think another rover, like Perseverance or something, pooped out a little fly thingy, and the fly thingy flew 4 times.
There's a fly on Mars from poop dropped from a rover.
That's what the aliens are writing about. Newsflash: all the aliens on Mars are like, Martian rover or UFO poops and little fly thing comes out. Ah!
Oh my gosh. Oh man.
Oh man.
So
so Ingenuity flew 4 times. That's exciting.
And each time it got
they didn't crash at
higher,
once.
faster, and farther. So.
Which I only really heard about one of them. So good news coverage, NASA. You should try a little harder there.
Well, as soon as it the first one happened, they just kind of said, "Let's go." They didn't wait. They just went again and again and again.
No, and I don't mind that step by step ferociously, but it's kind of like, ooh, you know, there was a lot of potential for press coverage there, but they missed out on it. It's fine.
I wonder if
obviously it was pretty hyped the first flight, but the other ones weren't.
Well, the first one was literally just going up like 3 foot or something or whatever.
Yeah, and it was kind of boring.
Yeah.
To have all the press about that one.
But I'm wondering, like, I think if they said it was like they were expecting 5 to 7 flights or something like that, usability out of it, with as much success as they had or they have had so far. How many flights do you think they'll actually get out of it before they just decide to eat it one day?
Last I checked, JPL is famous for underestimating how long their things will last.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Curiosity was only supposed to go like 1.5 miles or something, and as of today, Curiosity's gone like 5 or 6 and going strong.
Yeah.
Perseverance was only also supposed to go like 1.5 miles, and it's getting real close to that. And so, yeah, they're famous. JPL is just famous for under-reporting their estimates, which is fine because then everyone's excited when it lasts for 300 times longer than it was planned, even though it was actually probably really planned to last that long anyway. They just, were extra conservative.
They need to show it that it'll go this far for this amount of budget, and then make it go farther. So when they ask for this much budget for this far again,
more.
There you go.
You are playing the government game there. I like it.
Hey.
Yeah, so I would say probably we're looking at maybe 20 flights is
that.
I think probably a safe get.
That's kind of That's kind of around what I'm thinking too. And then maybe after they hit a big number that they can market the crap out of, they might try for some sketchy flights. So.
Yeah, I think these flights will get sketchier and sketchier as we go, trying to push that envelope. Do you think they'll ever try to fly it in more turbulent weather conditions? Because right now, like, they pretty much wait for there to be like no wind.
See, actually, I haven't even paid attention to that part. I mean, because of course it's got wind on Mars because there's an atmosphere. It's like 1% one, but I'm not honestly sure because how much would it really affect it if the blade's already having to spin crazy fast and there's not that much resistance on the actual craft? Because I didn't think about that.
Well, from my drone piloting experience, anything can be counteracted up until the limit of the aircraft. And so, as long as the aircraft is able to go, say, 30 miles an hour, it can combat 30-mile-an-hour winds and continue to hover. Now, I don't know what Ingenuity's flight characteristics are like, but probably not that much. And also, they want to be super safe. Because this is a multi-million-dollar / maybe billion-dollar project sitting on the surface of another planet. So I would say they're not being very conservative, or they're being extremely conservative right now, not being gutsy. And I would say probably around that 20, maybe 25 flight mark, they'll start getting pretty gutsy about it. Just see, hey, cannot fly. I don't know. See, windy day on Mars, storm.
Wait, so did we actually get a confirmed fourth flight on that, or was it news that it missed the fourth flight?
I don't know.
Because I'm looking
I remember hearing 2 for sure.
Yeah, I know 2. Because I'm looking at the space.com article that I actually skim a lot of my big news topics from.
Sharing false information?
We might have accidentally.
We might be part of the disinformation.
This is also 4 days ago that this article
guys.
was written. So 4 days ago on the day that we're recording, which is May 3rd. It missed the takeoff for the 4th flight. So did it actually fly for the 4th time?
I'm looking online here. Let's see. 3 hours ago, Gizmodo said an article saying something. Let's see what Gizmodo says. Gizmodo has too many ads. I'm not looking at their website. Sorry, Gizmodo.
Ingenuity 4th flight. Let's see what just Google brings up.
Google. I'm gonna use DuckDuckGo.
After Flight 4. Okay, so there we go. Spaceflight Insider.
See, we do our fact-checking and research, and we know all of our stuff, everybody. We're definitely not just shooting from the hip here. Thank you, DJ, for doing the in-real-time fact-checking. Fact-check true.
So
we do have 4 flights.
They're going into a new demo phase of flights, apparently, with Ingenuity. So, this is going to be interesting.
And this is the mapping part, when they're doing mapping?
I think. The 4th demonstration, capabilities, full potential by ascending to 16 feet, and then traveling for 84 meters, which is 276 feet. Now it's should start doing the aerial observations for potential rover routes.
Rover sounds routes. Like they're moving into the mapping phase.
Yeah, so
cool. They're
getting closer to that. Yeah. Good job, Ingenuity.
Hey,
for being so ingenuitable.
I'll take it, Ingenuity. I see what you did there. Yeah, cool. So we have that. Unfortunately, that's just about the only news on the Martian surface that we have because we have some more stuff closer to home.
No, actually.
Wait, there's more news?
Yeah, because this happened whenever we weren't talking. Didn't they produce oxygen on Mars?
They did. I forgot about that. Jeez, we cannot go this long without an episode ever again, DJ. We are just missing things left and right, and I'm sure the show's getting a little like, oh, did these guys even prepare? And I promise you, we did spend an hour preparing for this stuff.
We make a doc.
But sometimes there's just too much news.
Happens.
It happens. Yeah, so we did make oxygen on Mars. They didn't make a ton of it. I think it was like a gram or something like really small like that. It wasn't a ton. But it was proved to be capable and possible to actually make in situ resource utilization possible, actually creating oxygen via electrolysis, I believe.
So it's 5.37 grams total is what it looks like they did.
Okay. That's not bad. Under what pressure? Or I wonder how they measure that. I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know how they measure.
Either way.
I don't know how they measure gas. Whatever. I wonder if they're saving that for anything, or if they just ejected it out into the Martian atmosphere.
But they're doing it through using the MOXIE module. So it's separating oxygen atoms from carbon dioxide modules. which are made up of one carbon atom and two oxygen atoms. A waste product, carbon monoxide, is emitted into the Martian atmosphere. So they're making oxygen and then emitting carbon dioxide, or carbon monoxide, which is not good specifically for the atmosphere. But I mean, if you're already just a CO2 atmosphere, what really matters?
Yeah. Well, and at least it's possible, right? We have the knowledge that it is indeed possible.
And that 5 grams
resource
is equivalent to
utilization.
about 10 minutes of breathable oxygen for an astronaut. So. And
that's impressive.
it's
I didn't know
designed to
that's all we
generate
needed.
10 grams of oxygen per hour is what the MOXIE module is supposed to do. So. That's actually, you know what? That's actually a lot for just something on a small rover.
Wait, how long does that last a human?
5 grams lasts 10 minutes. So basically, it's for every hour that MOXIE
20 minutes
is,
an hour?
Yeah, 20 minutes an hour for a small little box on a rover.
You wouldn't want that to be your only solution for oxygen on Mars.
Absolutely not. But for making oxygen for long duration space flight, long duration missions on Mars, if it scales up, then that is going to be big. That's kind of important.
And I don't think it uses all that much power, like in the grand scheme of things. Like, I guess Perseverance power supply is not that much. Like, they don't have much power to offer these experiments.
Yeah, I mean, it is a
right?
radio isotope
electric generator.
Yeah, there you go, that thingy.
Thermal electric generator. Radioisotope thermal electric generator. I feel like I want to say that like Scott Manley, but I'm not going to butcher his accent again.
Oh yeah, no, I could definitely not. Let's see, Perseverance rover.
If I could pull off a perfect Scott Manley impression, I would die happy. Seriously, yeah, that's pretty interesting. Do you think? Obviously, we're a couple years away from this at current pace, which who knows if that will change faster or slower. Do you think Elon will be sending a lot more of these kind of MOXIE type machines up to Mars before humans, or are they going to arrive with humans?
Well, I mean, if they're going to already be sending starships to Mars without humans, I'm sure he's going to be sending something that's using MOXIE. Because, I mean, they're already going to be doing the Sabatier process to get oxygen and methane for the rockets, because the rocket is 20% methane and 80% oxygen. So they make the methane, I believe it is, and they make the oxygen out of the methane.
But I guess the question is, how are they going to store this, right? Before humans arrive, there isn't going to be much infrastructure to store it.
Yeah, but
so you could refill the tank it landed in, but
well, I mean, 80% of the tank that or 80% of the fuel tanks is oxygen. So if they fill it up with oxygen and keep it going, that's a big old tank of liquid oxygen.
True.
So
but it's all about the temperature too, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is cryogenic oxygen that they load. So that's a whole nother bucket of worms. Anyway, that's a Martian problem. We got plenty of problems down here in Leo.
Yeah.
Like the one that Crew 1 was fixing on the space station. They did a spacewalk the past couple weeks.
What did they fix?
Congratulations. I have no idea, but Victor Glover and the other guy, I think it was the commander. I don't remember his name. I'm looking it up here. Victor Glover and Michael Hopkins.
Yep, Mike Hopkins.
Those were the two astronauts who did a spacewalk, and their spacewalk was notable because the only footage that I've seen of the spacewalk was in glorious 1080p, and it was just a beautiful web stream. It looked like an animation, to be completely honest, because I'm so used to these spacewalk streams being in like 480p, standard definition.
It's like
just like the grainiest, icky footage ever.
It's 480p,
but then like this was like
transmitted down to NASA, and then NASA's streaming it at 720p, and then it just looks bad.
It's trash. It's absolute trash. And so this one, first time I saw it, I was like, oh, that's a render. And then I was like, wait a minute. It was kind of the first time where I've ever been like, oh, that's actually real. I thought that was a render. Just because it was high quality, it looked clear, it looked beautiful. It kind of looked like a picture. We see all these pictures of astronauts up close that are, taken with actual, DSLRs or whatever. And they look nice and high quality and well framed and stuff and well lit. And this was a video that looked kind of like that. I'm sure it was just a GoPro camera. I'm sure it wasn't anything much fancier than that, but it was just a step up from 1980s technology.
Because it's kind of like, it's kind of just bolted to the side of the helmet, just like as an afterthought. Because, I mean, of course, it was designed after the suits were designed. So.
Right. Yeah.
What I can tell you what kind of looks like. It kind of looks like somebody that's a mountain biker that just decides to bolt a camera to the side of their helmet.
Exactly.
Instead of using the GoPro mounts, they just make one themselves.
They just bolt it on there. Yeah.
But
and so hey, I'm all for more high quality images coming down from the space station.
Yep.
So it's nice that they could actually fix that problem, because it's literally been like 10 years of like every consumer grade camera can do better than this. Why are we still looking at this?
iPhone camera can do more from 5 years ago.
iPhone 3G. Yeah. iPhone 3GS, I think, was the first video camera on an iPhone. I think that could have done a better job than what they were using before. Maybe not a ton, but I think that at least did 720. Ugh. Anyway, that was terrible. Yeah. You know what? Maybe we should just completely defund the space station, because there's no reason to have these terrible cameras up in space, right? At least that's what Russia thinks.
Yeah. So, Russia might be leaving the space station. That's what?
I really hope the breakup doesn't go poorly, because if there's a bad breakup and they take their half of the space station,
that would not go well.
That would not go well at all, because I'm pretty sure that the Zvezda's modules have most of the station keeping hardware on them.
Yeah,
the US side does have some, but most of it's done on the Russian side. So that would be bad. Don't leave Russia. We need you.
So it's been a 23-year partnership, and their
crazy.
Russian deputy prime minister said at the government meeting that the nation might withdraw from the ISS in 2025. They cited deteriorating conditions of the space station, which was of course launched in 1998. So the space station is as old as I am. How old is that now?
Same here.
I was like
2 or 3 months old when it launched. So,
but yeah.
I'm 22. We're 22. It's 22 years old.
Yep, about to be 23. There we go.
Or it will be this year, I guess.
Yeah.
Depending on when it launched.
But we got
December,
3 more years and a few months, realistically, until if they did leave, if they do decide to leave, we got 3 years. What do you think would happen if they decided to cut off support?
Well, okay, so there's tons of ways that this could go. Obviously, the U.S. and their infinite budget can absorb this and maintain both sides of the station. I don't really see Russia leaving with their side of the space station or deorbiting their side. I don't see that happening. It's kind of all too connected for that. So I would imagine what would happen is the U.S. I would probably even say Russia wouldn't officially leave. The U.S. would just be like, hey, we'll pick up half of your bill or whatever, or something like that. And Russia would continue to operate. That's if the U.S. wanted to operate that. But this is the other question, right? We have so much commercial stuff going on. Is the ISS really worth keeping around? And it really hurts me to say that, because the ISS has literally been around almost all of my life, save for a few months. And it's been continuously crewed for all of the 2000s, right?
Yeah, this is like 20 years or something station. Like that total.
Yeah, I think 20 years of continuous crew
habitation
and 23 of having a part in orbit.
Yeah. So another part.
So I guess go ahead.
Another part of this Space.com article is that they said Russia's talking about a national station. So it's of course following up their Salyut and Mir stations that they've done before.
Yep.
But they're thinking it could be complete by 2025, and that they would not depart from the ISS until that new station was completed.
They have a station.
So if they did leave, they would have their station, another one that we're about to talk about, and then what is the one that's actually going to spur off of the ISS? What is the name of that one?
I think that's the Axiom, right?
Axiom. So
Space.
Axiom is going to be kind of budding off of the International Space Station and then making its own station and then depart, and then it's already planned for the space station to be deorbited at some point after that anyways.
So I think the most likely option would be the U.S. helps Russia in some financial way to keep them interested in the program, just because that seems to be NASA's solution to most things. So SLS is going too slowly. Here's more money.
Yeah.
But I think the end goal here, right, is more commercial space stations. So NASA can take Axiom Space and say, hey, here's all this cubic footage volume of unused Russian segment, right? Do with that as you will, whether that to be house temporary visitors for, getting money to build their own space station, right? What's the blow up space station?
Bigelow
Space, yeah. But NASA's whole thing is they need to inspire commercial investment into this, right?
Yeah.
Like we've discovered since the early 2000s that this can't just be a government-only enterprise. We have to have commercial reasons to get into space, and a big one of that is tourism. And I think going to the ISS is going to be one of the biggest money drivers of this whole thing, at least on the tourism side.
Yeah.
Going to space is great. Looking at space unobstructedly through this bubble of a Dragon capsule is going to be really an interesting experience, but it's not going to be as exclusive as saying, yes, I was on the ISS, right? Like only however many people can say they've ever been on the ISS, and after that thing deorbits, no one's ever going to get that title again, right? So I know if I was a multi-bazillionaire right now and I was trying to decide, do I want to go to the space station or do I want to go on this Dragon capsule with the cool window, I would probably pick the ISS, because I know that that's not always going to be an option, right? I can probably in 10, 20 years go on another trip to see the bubble. But there is that kind of nostalgia, I guess, built up around the space station. And maybe I'm saying this as an armchair, astronaut, not actually knowing anything about big decisions of this kind. But I would say, for me at least, I would rather go to the ISS right now than go on one of these other commercial adventures.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that is
I
going to be a big financial reason why they'd want to keep that around.
One major thing about that is, if you're just going to go on one of the, like Inspiration 4, it's only a few days.
Mm-hmm.
And you're in a cramped compartment. Whereas, Space Station is not very roomy, but it's still roomy enough that you can do the flips in the middle of the place and not be stopped. You can do all that fun stuff. So, you're staying up there for longer, and you get to have more fun.
Yeah, so there is we should keep it around for a little bit of nostalgia, but at some point, though, it needs to go.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we should have the ISS forever, because the Mir space station back in the late 90s, like, astronauts came back from that. Like, the U.S. astronaut, the first time that we visited the space station, we were horrified. Our astronauts were horrified because it smelled of mildew, and, like, it was old. It had been up there for, like, almost 20 years or something like that. And, obviously the Russian Space Federation, I believe, didn't have as much of a budget to put towards Mir as both the U.S. International and Russian partners together have gone into the space station. Yeah. So, whatever that may be, but I think there is going to be a point where the ISS is just going to be too old, whether it's mechanical failures, constant patch jobs, odors, this stuff builds up over time, and at some point it's going to need to deorbit. But I don't think it should be in 3 or 5 years. I think it should be in probably 10 years, because that'll give enough time. Now, maybe the real science won't be happening on the ISS in 5 years. I would say maybe not. Maybe the real science will be moved to a Russian station, or maybe another U.S. Commercial station or something like that. But I think there's going to be a huge tourism aspect, at least for a few years, of really rich people wanting to say I was on the ISS, because just like there are only so many people who ever flew an Apollo spacecraft, like I believe 24 people can ever say that they flew, well, plus Apollo 1. So only 20. If I can add 3 to 24, 27. Can ever say that they were on an Apollo spacecraft, and that'll be the same with the. Anyway, I'm rambling here, but that's the idea.
My armchair astronaut time.
Okay, go ahead.
If, say, in 10 years, the space station deorbits.
Okay.
First question.
So 2031.
First question: do you think that
There will be any people on it? Yes, there will be. It'll be this huge.
So okay, but do you
Have you
think
seen Gravity?
do you think we'll be on the other the commercial station that buds off of it, and buying space and time on there, or do you think there'll be another one in the works that they're going to be putting up in orbit for just the U.S. themselves, maybe smaller?
A U.S. governmental?
Yeah.
Like a Skylab type thing?
Yeah.
That's really hard to say. It really depends on the geopolitical landscape in the next few years.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like we're kind of, all honesty, it seems like we're in a Mexican standoff between China, Russia, and the U.S. Like, if you fire first, the other two are going to fire at you, and you kind of got this whole like three-way Mexican standoff thing.
So,
and I don't really see any need for specifically needing everyone's own. I think international collaboration is still really important right now because we can leverage each other. But I guess I could see that future where the tides turn sour and people want their own stations. I can see that too.
So now going off of if it's all everybody's own stations at that point. You remember how Skylab was so big because it was the literal body of the Saturn V, basically.
Stage.
What else is pretty big? That's gonna be flying soon.
Well, I heard SLS is going to be flying soon.
You sure it isn't last month? Because that's definitely an April Fool's joke right there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay.
Starship.
So, Starship's big. I mean, the volume that it has is bigger than the volume of what the space shuttle's payload bay had, right?
Yeah.
So, we could have if we do make a new station ourselves, those can be some pretty big modules.
Yeah.
We could get almost back to
Totally.
Skylab size. This is, of course, armchair astronaut time. I think that would be pretty cool. I would love to see just a complete U.S. station that it's made fairly cheap by going up in Starship.
Yeah, I think Starship is. All right, it would be really cool if we had like a U.S. government type, station. But there are two things. Like, I think at this point, the science that can get done on station is not as valuable as it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm not degrading any of the science that's going on right now, but seeing how we're going to have probably 2, maybe 3 other stations going on at the same time, and there's still some international collaboration going on, and then this private market where these private companies can have their own space stations. I don't know if there's going to be a huge need to like do a ton of science in space, and we figured a lot of things out already, and there's always going to be new things to figure out, I guess. But like the easy stuff has been done, and the demand for big governmental stations seems a little bit less, and it seems it's more important, to me at least, my armchair is saying that I think we need to have a good reason to go, a financial incentive to go and make this big station. Now, if that station is, power projection on the global stage, the U.S. still has it in making the most advanced space technology. Okay, that's a good reason to go. And, just like we build huge aircraft carriers to roam around the waters, that we'll go build a huge space station. And it'll be a lot cheaper thanks to Starship and not SLS. Yep. But at the same time, I think in a time of peace and international collaboration, I think it makes a ton of sense to not have, just like the U.S. station. I can't think, what would they do on the U.S. station besides hi, we're here.
It probably
and here's a few
would kind of
plants.
move to the more like governmental, let's do some shady crap type situations if it did.
Yeah, no, totally.
But
yeah.
I do wonder what like they could make.
The X-37's visiting our station for some very strange reason. We have no idea why. Let's not talk about
But
it.
this is like one of the things that I think of when I think of that. Like, what could they make this station be if it was just the U.S. designing it versus having to design with other international partners?
Yeah.
Or like if they wanted to keep some special technology secret they couldn't use in certain places. So it's the technical aspect of what could it be. But then I also think of this: if SpaceX is launching large modules for a space station, and they kind of need a place to easily refuel stuff in space, anyways.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't SpaceX just make their own? Maybe. That's my last bit of just kind of future speculation.
Like a SpaceX space station?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd be all over this.
Kind of almost like a Trekkie-ish, like port in orbit.
Yeah. I'm down for this.
So.
I think, at least right now, it makes more sense for them to allow Bigelow and Axiom to kind of take that risk on, because making these big stations is a lot of financial investment. But SpaceX, even honestly, like, you just leave a Starship in orbit and call it a space station, and everyone would be like, "Yep, that's volumetrically a space station."
Yeah. I cannot think of the space station that actually had like the picture, like it's the big ring station that had the renders of Starship. Like the company actually rendered Starship into it. I cannot think of that station's name right now.
Was that the one with the Dream Chasers on the bottom? I remember that one. It had like Dream Chasers around the edges.
No, it was like actually it kind of like Starship came into the middle and parked, and like you could fit like 2 or 3 of them or whatever, and it was like It's like.
Are you sure that wasn't a render from the community?
No, that was some company that wants to make a station.
We did our homework, guys. Look at this.
Hey, this is still the armchair time.
Yeah, armchair time.
Oh man,
we didn't make this a segment. This is kind of fun. I hadn't seen that, but I wouldn't mind it, and I think it would make sense to have some kind of fueling type station, especially since there can be more activity up there.
Oh wait, I think I found the picture.
Oh, you did? Oh, cool.
I think so. If this is it. Oh yeah, I think we're thinking of the same one. I think because it does have the Dream Chasers around the edge. I didn't notice that the first round.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah. So that one.
The Von Braun station.
Crowdfund
That's what it is.
Quite a bit of it. Yeah, the Von Braun station. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that one specifically. I think it's kind of too big for what the scale of the company is.
Yeah.
I did look into that probably about a year and a half ago. It's like, oh, that's pretty cool because they're like selling tickets or a raffle for tickets or something. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But like, they don't have the scale. This is a small startup company, and they're trying to do something that governments haven't even been able to do.
Yeah.
So all the best of luck to them, especially with Starship coming online with lower launch costs. But I guess at the end of the day, a station needs to fulfill multiple functions, right? It needs to do science. It needs to project national power. It needs to serve some kind of functional purpose. I think now the ISS's biggest functional commercial purpose is tourism, which I think is fine. But I think whatever new stations come out need to have tourism and something else. Because they're not going to be able to rely on the nostalgia of the ISS to attract that tourism. Yeah. So I think it would be refueling or some kind of mining, operation. Whether that's moving goods here or there, transferring stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of getting even deeper though. Like I think mining is a long way off. Like we need to make it to Mars pretty regularly before we start thinking about mining, because that's an even bigger problem.
Did you ever see the movie Geostorm? It came out like a year or 2 ago.
No, I have not.
Okay, so this is like...
What's that about?
Basically weather satellites that help save the Earth.
Thriller. Ooh. Okay.
So I don't know if you can find a image of their space station really fast.
I'm looking at the image of a wave crashing over a skyscraper.
Let's see. Geostorm space station. I have
Project
to look around my
Dutch
mic.
Boy, a global network of satellites surrounding the planet that are armed with geoengineering technologies designed to stave off natural disasters. Wow.
So,
after successfully protecting the planet for 2 years, something is starting to go wrong, and 2 estranged brothers have to tasked with solving the problems. Okay.
Yeah, basically this is like one of those manufacturing and orbit type stations, and it's thousands of people in space. If we ever get to that point, I would love that. But I don't. If you had seen it, I was gonna see what your thoughts. Like, how long do you think it would be till we get?
No. I'll have to add that to my list of things to watch.
I mean, it's not that great of a movie, but it's kind of cool, but it's not that great.
Yeah.
So
well, I think yeah, we need some commercial reasons,
Yeah.
but I would say the ISS is going to be around for hopefully a little bit longer than 3 years. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like it is a 20-plus-year-old space station. It's the oldest space station we've ever had. So like its time could be tomorrow, and we'd all say it had a long life and it lived great.
Yeah.
But hopefully with nobody on board if it's tomorrow, because geez, that would be a pretty terrible event.
Ooh, yikes.
Well, so speaking of space stations, though, U.S. and Russia are not the only ones talking about space stations. We're out of the armchair astronaut part. That's not the only two countries talking about space stations / launching them.
Yes. So China just recently launched the core of their new space station. It's the Tianhe is what I think the station.
Yeah, Tianhe.
Something like that is what the station is going to be called, and it looks like 2 more modules should be up there joining it. I don't know if it's by 2022 or by the end of 2022. But their station is soon to be up and going, and by soon I mean space timeline soon. So
yeah, not tomorrow.
Yeah, not
Had
tomorrow.
Had you heard much about this station?
No, I didn't know anything
it?
about it until it happened. So it's
I knew nothing about it until Scott made a video about it, and I was like, oh
yeah, it launched April 28th or April 29th GMT. The module is 54 foot long, 16.6 meters long. It's
and it's pretty much a Russian spec, right? From what I remember,
so.
it's pretty much a Russian spec. They were able to modernize it a little bit, but I'm pretty sure it's whatever the Russians used to build the first part of the ISS.
Yeah.
It was like that first module
Something
with
like
the 5
that.
docking ports and the.
They began laying the foundation for it a decade ago, so September 2011.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't really see much more of it that fast in this, but what it's got going for it is sometime soon. Where'd it go? I just saw it a second ago. Wow. There's going to be a cargo mission going up to it not too long. So, okay, there we go. A Chinese cargo spacecraft is expected to visit the module next month, and 3 astronauts will come aboard in June if all work goes according to plan.
Yeah.
So, it's moving pretty fast for that one.
Pretty impressive. Yeah, definitely. And I kind of find it's impressive when one of these other countries just kind of sneaks up and it's like, oh, here, we did this, basically. Yeah. And I think China's famous for that. India, for some points also, India just kind of sneaks up on me. Maybe it's because I live in the U.S. and I'm not consumed by that kind of news. But I know China's pretty holds things close to their collar when they're talking about future space plans. So I'm excited to see it. I mean, I don't see anything specifically wrong with it. One of the things that China has made very clear is that they are open to international partners. And if you're wondering why China is thinking they need to make their own space station, China is actually one of the only countries that's not welcomed on the ISS. The U.S., due to different economic embargoes and sanctions, has basically banned China from the ISS. And it seems as though the Chinese station will also not be available to the U.S. because of those same trade thingies.
Yep.
So basically, for political reasons, the U.S. will not be part of this new station, this Chinese station. But China is actively looking for and trying to find international partners. So a lot of people are thinking that Russia and China will come together and make this new international space station, the Chinese-Russian station. And for all those wondering, they're still using the international docking adapter, so it's not like the ISS and the Chinese station or Crew Dragon and the Chinese station would not be compatible. They probably would be, but due to political reasons, that's not going to probably ever happen. Yeah. But just kind of interesting that China is not. When I think of China's space program, I think of like a silo, right? Like they're not collaborating with anyone. Like everything is China made.
Very vertically
They might borrow
integrated.
some Russian stuff, but yeah, it's very vertically integrated. They use Chinese suppliers to make Chinese rockets, to launch Chinese cargo, to do Chinese things. Like it's all very vertically integrated, which is fine. That's what SpaceX is doing for the U.S. right now. But it's just kind of surprising to hear that China is actively looking for partners, which is kind of cool. So I'm all in support of more international collaboration in space.
So, well.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know much more than that about this station because,
China.
I don't know a ton about China's space program and, secrecy. But what I do know about is Boca Chica. Boca Chica is something we haven't talked about in like 3 weeks. I've not said those words out loud on a show. It's been a while. Boca Chica, my favorite city in the entire world, just southeast of Huntsville.
No, the wrong way. Brownsville, Texas.
Brownsville, not Huntsville. Brownsville, Texas. Hello, folks. It's only 10:30 at night. Yeah, we got some movement there, but it's not movement like we're normally talking about. Normally, when we're talking about movement down in Boca, we're talking about 3 or 4 new serial numbers, new ring segments, new test flights, new launches, new Raptors. That's normally what we're talking about when we're talking about progress down in Boca. This week, though, or the past 3 weeks, they've really been working on their ground systems, it looks like. So we have a lot of new ground systems. You going to talk about that, DJ?
Yes. So I think in the one of the previous episodes, I actually kind of mentioned them taking Starship ring segments and turning them into ground tanks. But now it seems they have 2 of those Starship ground tanks made out of the ring segments at the new orbital launch pad. So I don't know if they're plumbed up or anything yet, but they're definitely sitting there close to it. And they're much larger than the like skinny, tall white ones that we see sitting around the pad as of right now. But the bigger thing that I did not know was going on until we sat down and actually started looking at stuff and news for this episode, they're starting an integration tower. And
totally.
It's going up fast.
It's already like 50 to 100 feet tall.
It's getting tall real fast. So they shipped in segments of it. Like that right now it's 4 legs, 4 main legs with cross bracing on it. And it looks like they just ship them in on 18-wheelers, and it fills up an entire flatbed 18-wheeler trailer. So those things are around 60 foot long as it is. And it looks like they're sitting these on like 10 foot tall or maybe more braces, like foot braces, footstools.
Yeah.
So this thing is probably 70 foot tall already.
Yeah, that it's honestly insane, and I'm so happy that we've finally gotten some movement on this tower, because we've had so many questions about what it's going to look like and how it's going to work, and is it going to catch the booster? Is it going to how's the flame diverter working? What's going on here? But it's kind of cool to kind of see it actually starting to come forth, and we'll be able to watch it over the next couple weeks as they actually build this thing. Yeah. Because as far as I can tell, they haven't really talked publicly about how this thing's going to look like or how it's going to work or anything. Yeah. So I think part of it is they're going to try to figure it out, as they're making it, which is SpaceX's MO. But I think it'll be fun to watch unfold here as it's getting sooner.
Yep. Some other news is, of course, we were supposed to have an SN16 launch last week. And it didn't go up, so hopefully, I say, just because I want to see SN15 go up, that it's happening before this is released. But then again, I also say I hope not, so we can cover it next week and this not be outdated immediately.
Hey, we'll try to get this up as soon as possible.
Yeah. But then also, SN16 as of April 30th, was stacked inside of the high bay, so that's been a few days since that's been stacked. So SN16 is not long behind 15 if it decides to be mad and land wrong again.
Yep. It shouldn't, though. Don't do it, SN15. You can do it. I have faith in you.
There's so many changes that SN15 should be good.
Hopefully it's good, but hopefully, I kind of wonder when they have all these huge changes, hopefully it doesn't go backwards, right? They add too many new things, then new things can go wrong too. And so I hope this one lands. Yeah. I'm gonna be watching it like a hawk. Now that we're kind of back in the space game at the moment, we both have a little bit more time to devote to this. I'm going to be watching this like a hawk, watching every single one of the tank tests and hopefully we're out of dry rehearsals or whatever. But
dry
we need
runs
this.
and all that.
We need this. We need this dry runs. Yeah,
I'm definitely going to be sticking close to Twitter and like Boca Chica Maria and or Boca Chica Mary, whatever. And then RGV and stuff like that. I might even do Patreon for RGV just to get some of those glorious sky shots. So
yeah, you better. Those are some pretty pictures. Yeah, RGV did such a great job. Yeah. Well, cool. All right, that's all I have. Do you have anything else?
Well, I mean, SLS got a 1-bit for that. I mean, it's at KSC.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't see that down there.
So
wow, SLS is going to KFC. I knew they needed some fried chicken in their life. I'm so glad they're getting some KFC because if there's one thing that SLS isn't, it's overweight. I mean, over budget, so they can go to KFC all they want.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So
Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, it's looks like there is realistically about 10 months of risk assessed refurbishment, stacking, and testing work to prepare for the first SLS rocket launch, which is Chris G from NASA Spaceflight is what he said 11 hours ago. So,
hey,
10 months of nothing really for us, at least SLS wise.
Well, at least we had that green run like 3 months ago, so yay!
And it was there for how long before that actually happened?
I don't know, maybe a few years or decades or something. I lose track of them at some point.
Long time.
You kind of just got to say it'll be there at some point.
So,
yeah, it's sad. Oh well.
About an hour and 20 minutes.
I think we finished our list. Yeah, we hit an hour and 20 minutes. I think pretty much is a record for the Space Podcast. I don't think we've ever gone this long.
I think the closest we got to this was one of the ones that just completely failed on like me sending it to you or something like that.
Oh yeah, SN9. Let's not speak of SN9. That was some bad memories. SN9.2 and 9.1 and 9.3 were all terrible. 9.3 worked.
Yeah, 9.3 was the one that we recorded the week after, and it just
wow. That was sad,
man.
Anywho, let's not talk about that before we jinx ourselves. Do you have any closing thoughts, DJ?
Good to be back.
Good to be back. Good to be alive. And good to be listening to Talos of Space. Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll catch you next time.